Right.
What I wanted to do this morning was take us on a little trip from Bill's early days.
Oh, lovely.
When we started at Camp Hill, I'll divide the day into the Camp Hill era was what I call the war years. Then we go to Annerley, that was more the education years. This is a picture of Bill and Pete.
Yes. Oh.
That's Bill. Bill's the good looking one on the right. I was a bit overfed. You don't have to laugh that much, Abby. It's a serious picture. So don't mind.
But he's only 11. And yet we've got a grandson that
Good that you got
seems
the
like a little kid
big
compared to
job
you.
really.
Yeah, baby.
Maybe we just
Yeah.
taller
That's
than
I'm
average.
going
No,
to
it's
take a
not just
picture of
that.
this.
It's, I feel like I'm talking to almost an
Really
adult.
Is
Seems-
Bill or
Which one is Dr.
And you
Bill?
are very much.
Where did you get these photos?
I assume this one, right?
They must have been taken in the studio. They're good quality pictures.
Oh,
No, this is
Yeah.
Peter,
Yeah.
and then this is Dr. Bill.
Did you make?
That's Bill.
No,
Yes.
it's
That's
Oh.
Pete.
I'm
Yeah.
not a good cook. Not,
Yes.
Peter thinks I am, but
Oh.
It was a pretty stressful time. You remember those days, Bill, when the Japs were landing in New Guinea, 1943? I remember it. You'd have to remember it. And the Americans there were thousands of them right here in Camp Hill. Just at the top of the hill, behind the hotel, they built a naval hospital.
Okay. Is that why
2000
it's called Camp Hill? Because of the army camps?
No.
It
no,
was already
that was
called
right.
Camp Hill
I
before
thought
that.
too.
But
okay.
Good thinking.
the hospital up there had 2,500 beds, and there were 9,000 troops went there during 1 year.
Ooh, yeah.
Injuries from the Coral Sea,
Wow.
various things.
Yeah.
Not only war things, but diseases like typhoid. They got-
Malaria? Malaria too.
a bit of malaria from the beginning, yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
if Bill will remember, the soldiers used to march around the streets and stuff like that. They'd practice their baseball right down in our back paddock. They'd put the sewage in at Camp Hill. They did some wonderful things. The best thing they did, they had access to stuff that our kids would never get to, like boxes of candy and chewing gum, all this sort of
Stockings.
stuff. They had it laid on up there by the ton. So we used to say, "Oh, hello, how you going? You know, nice to meet you. What do you got? You know, I have some chewing gum for you." But used to love that. But at night time, you'd see they used to put the searchlights up from just on White's Hill there behind us, looking for any enemy planes that came over. And at our school, Camp Hill School, just up there, Bill and I were there, we had to dig the trenches. They were about, I suppose, come up to about your shoulders. And we'd dig the trenches, and if any foreign planes came over, hear the siren go, Bill would say, "Come on, down the back into the air raid shelter."
Wow.
It was exciting, but it was a bit scary, because there was always a couple of kids in your class who didn't have a father. They were either fighting at the war or were killed. So it wasn't much good fun. But,
Yeah.
and Bill was in the Cubs. He was a 2-star Cub. I was 1. I learnt the reef knot, which was quite good.
And
Helped
he
me a lot
talks
in
about
later
that a
life.
lot. I know how to do the reef knot.
Do you?
You say that
I
to
should-
me.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. But Sunday school was the Methodist church up here, no longer in existence. But we used to get dressed up Bill had a little suit, tie, all dressed up to go to Sunday school. Remember that?
Did your parents though send you? Did they go with you?
No, we went up there. We'd walk to the Cubs on a Friday night, pitch dark,
Wow.
no street lighting.
Oh.
Holy mackerel, it
How
was
old were
scary.
you then? A couple.
About 5, I suppose, 5 or 6.
Wow.
But I had Bill, he looked after. He said, "You don't worry, Pete. He'd be shaking like a leaf too." We got. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the cubs.
Do you remember that, Dr. Bill?
I'm not catching what is being said on
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
we
Talking about the cubs.
The Cubs, yes, I
Yeah, the
remember.
cubs up there.
The Cubs.
yeah.
Sunday school, the good thing about Sunday school was, this is nothing to be proud of, but they give you a little coin, like sixpence. See. When the plate came round, I used to put it in, so help the church. When I got a little bit more experience,
More
I
knowledge.
learned how to pass my hand over, palm the sixpence, put it in my pocket, go and buy half a dozen native scrolls.
Oh, wow.
God, I used to love them.
That is very, I would believe that.
Yeah.
But I did the right thing, Ken.
Yeah.
I went back to the church about 30 years later and gave
You
them
give
10
them.
bucks.
Yeah.
That's it, okay?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Now we're square.
Yeah.
So Peter, just ask the young ones, maybe there's something he said you don't get and that you'd like to ask a question.
You
wanna do
seem
that?
to have an endless
Fine,
supply of
Yeah, I just thought
stories
something.
about me.
Yeah. That was before even after the war.
I
but
do,
it had
Bill.
a big impact.
And most of my stories
Very-
were from Manly.
Very much into security and
But
safety.
when the war happened, that was the big headlines. Japanese surrender.
Mm.
What a great day.
That's a great thing.
Do you remember we went into town to the Albert Street Church?
Remember what?
You and me and Mum and Dad went to the Albert Street Uniting Church
At the
to
end of
celebrate the peace.
the war.
You couldn't get into the church. The whole thing with thousands of people in there.
Wow.
Never forget that day.
Mm.
But
I
Okay.
remember when the war ended, Dad went to the army camp opposite the school to see what he could find. Like, you know, a couple of jeeps or...
Oh no! That sounds very nice.
did he get anything?
Did he find anything,
That's
Dad?
right. He came home with a big army tank. Knocked up all the street.
Couple of mortars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was Camp Hill, and in those days, the milkman would come in the morning. Not even bottled milk, a lot of it. They'd pour the milk into your little container.
It's like a pan, yeah. Okay.
The baker would come with his bread. You had white or brown, right? White or
That's it.
wholemeal. That was not. Now you buy a loaf of bread. It takes me an hour.
Mm.
Decide which one.
Then the iceman would come. No refrigeration.
Okay.
Leave a big block of ice out there, and you put that into your ice box
Yeah.
for the day. Yeah, they were the days.
Was that every morning?
Every
Yes,
day.
every day they deliver.
And when you went to the shop, Mum would say, Bill, pop up and buy some milk or eggs or something. You had to have little coupons, even for a few years after that war, because there was sugar and flour, all those sort of things were rationed. You could only have so much.
There was a
Mm.
shortage.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, we ended up moving out of that place,
What age were you when you moved from Camp Hill?
Camp Hill. Bill would have been, say, 10 and a half. I was about 8 and a half.
Okay. Yeah. And he was born out in Muttaburra, out west, wasn't it?
Blackall. Was
Or
it
is-
Blackall you were born? Blackall?
Muttaburra,
Born in Muttaburra.
yeah.
Yeah, Muttaburra.
And you were born out there also?
King of Roy. We
Oh,
came
King
to
of Roy.
yeah.
So you did a bit of shifting,
Yeah,
I guess, with
yeah.
Grandad was shifting around
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
banks.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we got a transfer from here to Dolby.
Dolby.
So
Yeah.
we all moved up to Dolby for a couple of years in Dolby. Then to Bundaberg for a couple of years.
Right.
Then down to Brisbane.
Yeah.
Can I just mention, to mention your mother, your grandmother,
Mm.
great-grandmother, because she was an outstanding woman. I only met her once before we married. Because,
The teaching.
yes, that's incredible.
Yeah. Mum was clever. She was a good teacher. She became the headmistress of the Mount Gravatt
School.
Head
Yeah.
School. Yeah.
That's called named after them.
Yeah, they called a big hall after.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
She went back to work when I was about 12 years old. Spent a long time out of it. But when she went back there, they would sack her in December, even though she was the principal. Sack her and re-employ her on the 25th of January.
So they didn't have to pay holiday
but
pay.
this was only female.
Really?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, it was rough.
Yes.
But I'll tell you one thing, this showed how Bill and our mother was clever. At BCC, which was Woolworth's predecessor with supermarkets, at Annerley they had a competition. There were 10 reasons why I shop at, we'll call it Woolworths, that's what it is now. 10 reasons why I shop there. And we're going to judge the competition on whatever the people say. If everybody said it's the low prices, that's the number one reason. So Mum said, boys, get all the entries you can. We came home with a stack, hundreds and hundreds. So Mum sits down, she looks at the 10 reasons why I shop at Woolworths. And let's say it was fresh food, good prices, nice staff, wide aisles. Could have been any of them. But there was one that said the staff uniform. It was the ugliest pink wraparound thing. You wouldn't wear it in a jail. So what's Mum do? Every one of them she put number one, the uniforms that the girls wear. And of course when they judge it, didn't matter what the others did, there were 400 straight away saying they loved the school the uniform of the staff. She won a car. I was so proud of her doing that. It's amazing.
Wow, yeah.
Now, you might say it's not cheating. We're a very Christian family. It wasn't cheating, but it was manipulation.
Yeah. Gaming the system.
So if you see any competitions,
Yeah.
I might be able to give you a little.
All right. Yeah.
But when we moved into Camp Hill, I was more interested in playing cricket and all that sort of stuff. Where Bill, he'd be doing something scientific, or
Mechanical.
he bought a lathe and he made himself a little miniature chess set. All the pieces, the little knights and bishops and everything, and it was on a little, had a pin underneath, so you put them on the board, had a lid on it and you could take it with you. And we used to play chess.
Do you remember that, Dr. Bill?
Remember the chessboard you made? The little mini chess set?
Sorry, what?
The chess set you made at Camp Hill, at Annerley. You made it on the lathe. We used to play chess in the tram.
Look, I'm not here.
Okay.
Can you
Well,
say
Don't you still have it? The chess thing that he made?
Oh, it was a classic. But
Really?
Oh, I've got a later one.
Oh,
what
wow.
we did, we used to get, Bill went to the industrial high school in the city. I went to Brisbane State High, which is halfway in. And Bill would get the chess set out and I would hold the chess set. He would sit over there, right? So he doesn't know what I'm looking at. And Bill would say, all right, pawn to K4. So I'd move pawn to K4. Then I'd say, pawn to rook 3, something like that. And he'd know in his head, oh, Pete's moved that there. Anyway,
Thank you.
by the time we get to the Boomerang Theatre, just down here at halfway past Annerley, he would beat me every time. So I thought, I'm going to get him on a particular side. So he'd say, pawn to K4. So I moved that, but I'd sneak one of mine up the side. So up here, put the queen up here or something. And as we went on, he'd say, well, I'm going to checkmate you in the next move. And I said, no, you can't. I said, I've got a queen blocking that. He said, no, you move that queen illegally 5 tram stops.
Ah!
He knew it, even though he couldn't see it, he knew I'd
He
seen
knew
it.
you'd done it. Fantastic.
But
Yeah.
Bill was he was a good, when he went to high school, he took up ballroom dancing.
Yeah.
Seen him dance?
No, never seen.
Oh.
Well,
Dancing. We saw them.
doing a little bit of salsa in later years. Yeah.
Yeah, Bill was he used to get a chair. He'd pick up a chair like this.
Oh, that's too heavy.
Yeah, and he'd be going. You remember all that?
I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
And
You may not have known, but my dancing career started in a radio station.
did it?
After school, a lot of the kids in central Brisbane would go to 4VK, I think it was, and there was a children's program,
Right.
and you could be in the audience. And I went once and watched, and they asked for somebody to read an advertisement. And I put my hand up and I went and read this advertisement broadcast everywhere. And then at the end of the show, they would give a prize to the person who read it best.
And that was you.
And I won it.
Yeah.
And the prize was 6 lessons,
Oh.
3 lessons
Oh,
at
wow.
Sandy Robertson
Yeah,
Dance Studio.
Yeah, down the
Wow.
valley.
And I think I must have been the first person ever to win the Sandy Robertson prize
Right.
and actually turn up for lessons. So they didn't know what to do. And so they just looked at the letter and gave it back to me. So there was nothing to say how many lessons I had.
Right.
So I used it for 3 years.
I'm not
3
surprised.
lessons every week for 3 years.
What a story.
I know.
But,
He must have been
No
very
wonder
good.
you got good at it.
he was a good dancer. And,
Yeah.
I went to Sandy Robertson, and he was still judging right up till about 20 years ago. Still judging the dancing, old Sandy. But I learnt you ever heard of the progressive barn dance, Ken? By any chance?
I have heard of it. I wouldn't know what it looked
It's
like.
not an intricate dance.
It's very simple.
You get all the girls in a big circle.
Yeah.
Might be 100 of them. And you get the 100 boys on the inside.
Yeah.
And you do a little, the girl comes before you, you do a little whirl, 2 little steps and say, lovely to meet you, thank you, next.
Mm-hmm.
Now after a while I thought, gee, there's a few ugly ones turning up here. So what you do is you look up the line a couple and see a real good looking one, say, oh, stay here. Or if it's a real crook looking one, say, oh look, I might just go to the toilet, and duck out of the line and get back in on the other side. You know?
Where the good looking ones
yeah,
are.
Yeah, get them. Isn't that terrible, isn't it? But
Oh,
I
dear.
know.
I remember when he went to Warwick teaching out there, but then the James Cook started. This was an opportunity for Bill to be a lecturer up in Townsville. There was one little hiccup.
I have one.
Bill still owed money to the education department for his training. You know, they gave you a little stipend. So Bill owed the education department, it might have been 100 quid or something like that. Bill said, no, I'm not paying that. I'm still teaching, I'm still in the Queensland education. All right. So Bill, we had a solicitor lived over the road at Annerley, Lou Greeley. Lou, get me out of this. So they took it to court and Bill won. Well, he didn't win. They said, no, you still got to pay it back, but at your discretion. 1 shilling a week, 1 shilling a month.
1 shilling a month.
That's 12 shillings, 12 in a year. That would have taken 103 years to pay off. I don't know whether he ever did.
No, probably not.
So just be careful, it might come out of the estate. It could have compounded 1,000.
Oh no, go that
I don't think
£100.
so. Yeah.
What's shillings? I'm getting
It's like old money.
About
$4.
10 cents.
Shillings, yeah,
About 10 cents.
but it's weird. It's to 12, right? 12
Yeah.
shillings makes a pound. Is that
Yeah.
right?
No, 20 shillings in a pound.
Oh, 20 shillings in a pound.
There was 12 pennies in a shilling,
Okay.
20 shillings in a pound. And the trouble is, so I worked in a bank when I first started. Let's say you wanted to put £4, 7 and 6pence into your account. You had to add up all the pennies, then transfer it, then all the shillings, then over to the pounds. Drive you mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought shillings were like getting whipped.
Oh, no, it's okay.
I found myself
You're learning a bit.
I found myself
Yeah.
after it was this morning Jerry had said careful she just heard the traffic fines are all doubled
Yeah,
for the Easter weekend, and I was explaining to Dad. I said, Dad, yeah, the traffic fines are all doubled. So that means if we get £100, it's going to be $200. $100 is going to be a $200 fine. And I think I'm explaining the concept of doubling to the guy who wrote the textbook on trigonometry, and I think I don't need to explain what doubling is to the mathematician.
Exactly.
Well, I used to love mathematics as a kid, but it was a different sort of mathematics to what Bill did.
Yeah.
And the first time Bill met Melaine, we lived in Elsternwick, and Bill came. The four boys were all there, and Bill was on his way through Melbourne to go to Hobart to meet a couple of mathematicians. They were working on some problem. This is, 50 years ago, wasn't it?
More than that.
Yeah.
We've been
Bill had,
married 53.
yep.
55 years.
Yeah.
It was a couple of years before we met.
And I think Bill said to me, Pete, I'm a bit stuck on this problem. I just don't know which way, whether the Russians going that way, the Americans going, what should I do? And I said, Bill, just take a breather for a day and think about it. And use the old Bessel function. He said, you're right, Pete.
What's that?
The Bessel function?
What's that?
Oh yes, yeah. Bill knows all about the Bessel.
The Bessel function, okay.
It was named after Fred Bessel, who came up with this mathematical formula in about 1840,
Yeah.
and it was on magnetic waves, how to gauge them and how to magnetically change them. I went through it with Bill, and he said, "Pete, I think you're on the right track."
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's not. He can't quite get what I'm saying.
No, he's not going to contradict you
He
today.
said, "Thank you, Pete. That's really helped me on my career." And I said, "You'll get a doctorate out of this."
And he did.
Yeah,
He's a
take
doctor,
everything
Dr.
with
Bill
it. You
Newman.
know what it
Yeah,
means to take
yeah,
everything
brilliant,
with a grain
yeah.
of
Remember
salt.
that, Dr. Bill?
He did. Ask him about CP notes.
Well, hey, Ken, he won't see this, will he?
Yes.
Um,
Don't
I've got
let
a-
him see this.
I've got a program that'll automatically put in subtitles for us.
Ken, I just was trying to explain to your kids to take everything with a grain of salt, what Pete says about him.
We
And they
know and
they
love that
don't-
about
they
Peter.
They don't know what that means. So
A grain of salt?
a grain of salt.
Oh, you don't know that term? Just,
It means
Peter can tell really great, slightly tall
that
stories.
maybe slightly much more interesting. He's good at
Peter,
embellishing.
yes.
But Peter, I wonder where that would come from, that actual saying, because a grain of salt.
Biblical.
Yes, but salt would have been what? Very.
Ephesians 3 verse
No,
7.
volunteers. Pete. No.
Look,
I
Dave,
think
we've got.
salt would have been, a grain would be worth, it's not really.
Dave, don't ask me. We've got Jerusalem. We've got Aaron, Moses' brother. And now that's the convent, for sure. So, don't ask me about religion.
You're in.
Don't take everything gospel. Well, there's another one. So that, don't take everything gospel. See, I just realised I never use that. That means for real. In
Yeah.
other words, the
Yeah.
assumption the
Hey,
gospel's
I'll
right.
tell you another thing about your dad. When he went to high school, they used to have school cadets. Everybody in the school would be Army cadet or Air Force cadet. And Bill became a lieutenant in the second year at the school.
Wow.
He was a lieutenant in the cadets. That very rarely happened. I was so proud of him doing that.
That'll be
What's that? What would that be based on? Just like good leadership skills, good,
Well,
follows orders.
everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was a good marcher
Yeah, marching.
and good leadership, and I think he could fire a rifle quite well.
I
Probably would ruin his ears.
yeah.
They used to send us out there to an
Yeah,
opera,
without the earmuffs.
or up to halfway to your place at
Yeah.
Red Bank.
Yeah, an odd red thing. Yeah, Dad was saying on the way here we went past Wacol, and he said, we used to do the camp
Yeah.
training at
Yeah.
Wacol.
Yeah. Right.
That the Red Bank rifle range was right on the main road,
Is that right?
and you just pull in, and often there'd be some poor horse or something walking up the back.
Oh no!
It's awful.
Safety wasn't
Some angry farmer would come out and
Very
why are you
What they
shooting?
used to do,
Oh,
Ken,
too much the other
in those
extreme
rifle
now, I
ranges,
think.
Yeah,
Kids
it's
can't-
really
There's a pit.
too safe now.
That's
and
right.
this
kids
is up the
never
other end where
learn,
the scoreboard,
you
the
know,
target
running
is.
over or
Big tin
climbing
target.
trees.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, 8 foot. And it's got this bullseye and the inner and the outer. And down in the
Somewhere in
pit,
the middle.
That's
a
the
person
trouble,
stands
there's no
there
balancing.
with a big long stick with a big disc on it.
And that's what you fire at.
And when
Yeah.
someone fired, no, when they'd fire, you could see, oh, I went through that there, and you'd put it up, and so the rifle shooter would know,
Ah.
oh, I'm shooting a little bit to the left or what.
Ah, okay.
And what they do, when you had it up there, the sharpshooters would fire a bullet at the tin thing.
At the tin.
And you'd be like that for
Oh.
it would shake you up because the power of the bullet,
Yeah.
hitting you, going through your
Yeah.
hand.
I can remember Dad saying that his asthma medication, his asthma inhaler,
Yeah.
helped him with the accuracy of his firing.
Did it?
Dad, do you remember? You told me one time when you were firing guns, firing rifles, the asthma medication, your asthma medication helped you to fire more accurately.
Yes, I discovered that if I had asthma, my usual remedy was to take what's the
It was like an inhaler, but with a rubber, like a rubber,
Yeah, I remember.
old style rubber
Yeah.
inhaler.
tablet or something, but it was a drug, and the effect was to make me slow down, and I took one on a Saturday morning when I was on my way to the rifle shooting, selecting the best shot for the school. And to my amazement, I found that every time I fired, I got a bullseye. And I'd never had this before. I was never a very good shot.
That's funny.
So,
Yeah.
so
So
they picked me to the school.
yeah.
And I should have taken a tablet. I realised that it was the drug that was.
So this is performance enhancing drugs.
It's now banned because it's a drug.
Sedation. Yeah.
And in the Olympic Games, you're not allowed to take the
Okay.
tablet.
Gee. So Ken,
Yeah.
I'm just going to explain why he got the bull every time.
Okay.
I was the marker,
Oh yeah.
and I put it up to give him a bullseye.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
him feel good.
Okay.
So I could help.
He actually missed the target altogether.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But
He
he.
had a cow up the back.
Oh, that's you know. What are little brothers for?
But also, just a question, Pete. Peter's told me that they used to fight a lot as little
I
kids,
can't think of the name of the drug.
and Mum would
used,
complain to
Ventolin,
Dad.
yeah.
That was what happened in those days.
That wouldn't be it there.
Mum would be at home. Dad would come home. Mum would complain about these two fighting because they were.
Yeah.
And
They both get a smack.
They both.
Caning.
Yeah. Oh, pretty. What did you get?
Oh,
Caning?
geez, we used to cop hiding.
Like with what?
Oh,
Like what we?
either like you know those bamboo feather dusters or something, but not with the duster in, the other end.
Right.
Yeah.
On your bottom?
No, around the legs.
Ooh.
And I mean, we had every reason to fight. There might have been a new comic.
Yeah. Well, I can remember. I can remember as a kid going to Taunton Street on holidays, and under the bed was this box of comics that I thought was fantastic, and they would have been left over from and they'd be worth a fortune now on
Yeah,
the.
well, there was a whole lot of those classic comics.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love those.
They were
Me
so
too.
good,
They were in pictures.
Yeah.
Like you'd read,
Yeah.
might be one Green of Anne of Green Gables, or something like that.
Yeah.
And you could read through the comic and say, oh, this is a really good story.
Yeah.
So that you didn't really have to go to the library. That suited me.
A lot of money.
Where are they now?
Oh, we
John
wouldn't
might
know.
have them, I don't know.
Why don't you ask
The
John?
time you broke your leg, I think it was in 2 places.
Yeah.
We were playing cricket at our home in Camp Hill,
Okay.
and Peter, I think, bowled, and the fella hit it over the fence, and Peter just jumped the fence and went out on the road and caught the ball, and a cyclist collected him. It's a very steep hill.
Yeah,
Brown
Brown
Street.
Street. It was a gravel, there was no bitumen. And the bloke was coming down the hill so fast that the pedal hit my shin. And it snapped the pedal off. That's how fast he was going. He didn't even fall off the bike. Thank goodness, he'd have killed himself. He was going at 30, 40 miles an hour. But it broke my leg, but I don't know whether you remember, I still held the catch, Bill. Still had it in my hand.
You were not going to let go of the catch. He was
I
out.
was so proud of that. As I went in the ambulance, I said, well done, Pete. And that's where courage came in.
Yeah.
Is that how old would you be?
Oh, about 8, I suppose, 7 or 8.
Yes, I bet.
But I lost all the skin on the gravel, you know, all the skin on there. And they took me up to the hospital. They said, I think he's broken his arm, because that was blood and everything. So they x-rayed it, said, no, it's not broken. They sent me home. The next day I got up to walk, I fell over in a heap. I thought, this is hurting. And they said, oh, you've broken your leg. So,
And why did you stay in hospital longer?
oh, they kept me up there for about 10 days, maybe a long time.
In those days, they kept you in hospitals too long.
Yeah, the Armada.
Did you have to have some surgery or just a cast to make it heal? Or?
The old doctor said it. And
Yeah.
put a plaster thing on it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah,
What about funny story, Dr. Bill?
that was the funny one.
Do you have another funny story about Pete?
Sorry, Jerry.
Do you have another funny story about Pete?
Funny.
He's thinking.
No, I can't think of any.
No.
This is your chance. He's been telling a lot of smack about you.
Hey, back now.
Look, I can get back to Bill and give him 5 or 6 things.
Yeah. It's less convincing when you do smack about yourself. That's a bit contrived. Yeah. Well, I have just memories of the food at your house when we came down. Taunton Street is the first place I ever tasted avocados.
Really?
Taunton Street is the first place I ever had lasagna. These were amazing foods that I had, and we'd be there as 5-6-year-olds, and Granddad and Grandma would be handing out this stuff, and we'd be going, oh, Mom, you have to make this. And so then she's going, okay, I better get a lasagna recipe or something like that.
This is your grandma who made.
Yeah. Well, and probably even Granddad as well.
He could cook.
He was a good.
He could cook,
He was
cooked
ahead of the
us.
curve, and what.
That's right.
Yeah.
We moved up here, and he was still living in Taunton.
Yeah.
I was surprised, and he always had his vegetables.
Yeah.
He would cook for himself his 3
Yeah.
veggies.
Yeah.
Every night. On his own.
I can remember one Christmas. I came out early, and he was there having his cup of tea, and he was having Christmas cake and
Cheese.
blue cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm watching him for a while, and he just sort of ignores me. And what do you got there, Grandad? I don't think you would like this.
No,
You
he
hope
said,
he
the
would.
cheese crawls across the table.
Yeah, yeah, you wouldn't like this. I think I like it, Grandad. I think so. He very reluctantly gives me a little bit, and it's like, Grandad. And to this day, I love Christmas cake and blue cheese just because.
We get the little Aldi one, $4.50.
Nice.
And
A little block of
I
blue
like it
cheese.
with a bit
Yeah.
Very good for your digestion.
Oh, very good for my taste buds.
I like it too, right?
Yeah. But,
Now, Ken, when we do visit these two houses, how do you want to do it?
well, will we just stop? I mean, can we just stop on the footpath and you can tell us a little bit about them?
Well, actually, I've told you most of the stuff now.
Oh,
So-
well.
You know, it's not as though they'll think we're Jehovah's Witnesses coming.
Well, what do you want to?
I
What?
don't